Whether you're a lead pastor, leading a ministry in the church, or leading a ministry outside of the church, God has called you to a very specific ministry, and He's given you a mission. Yeah? My name is Paul, and in this video, I'm going to give you 3 specific ways on how to stay on target and on mission in 2024. And number 2 might surprise you, so stick around. So the first mission of any church, and you know this already, comes from the Great Commission in Matthew 28. Jesus says, "All authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. Therefore, go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything that I've commanded you. And surely I am with you always." And then also in Mark 16:15, Jesus said to them, "Go into all the world and preach the gospel and to all creation." This is our biggest mission. I mean, everything that we do in our ministry should come from this. And I know you realize that it's not our responsibility to coerce or convince people to follow Jesus, because I believe that God is calling people to Himself. And we just need to be available and ready, to go and preach the gospel. And in Jesus' word, preach the gospel to all creation and make disciples. And so under this umbrella of the Great Commission, I believe that we have a very specific mission within our ministry, and hopefully everyone is unified on it, at least on this mission, because the quickest way to derail your mission is to be the only one working on it. So as a church, we want to make sure that everybody is unified on this. Francis Chan preached a sermon a few years ago about the mission of the church, and so here's a little bit of that video.
And Jesus says, you want people to believe in me, be unified. That's Jesus' prayer. Jesus' prayer was not, hey, have them do all these, and miracles are great. Man, the scriptures are great, of course. The prophecy is great, and arguing for the sake of the gospel, of course, it's wonderful stuff. But Jesus' prayer, He says, Lord, may they be in us. May they be one, so that they'll believe. May they be brought to complete unity, to let the world know that you sent me and have loved them even as you have loved me. What's his prayer again? He goes, Father, I want them to be brought to complete unity. Okay, Jesus says if there was complete unity, why? Why? To let the world know that you've sent me and that you love them.
And so with that in mind, number 1 is to read that mission out loud every day. Now, this isn't new advice. I mean, we've heard it before, probably for years, but are you doing it? Yeah? I mean, if you are, awesome. So here comes a little twist on that. The way that I would like to suggest to you that you do this is to write down the mission and then put it somewhere obvious, wherever that is. I mean, put it in a place where, that it's going to get your attention every day so that you see it every day, and at least once a day, read it out loud. Because the studies have proven throughout the years that when you write things down and you read them out loud, that you're engaging more than just one sense. You have your visual, you have your auditory, and even your kinesthetic, which is the feeling. Because that feeling of writing, that physical motion of writing and creating something from your own thoughts, well, it can create a sense of urgency. And more important, I think, is that this mission or goal becomes part of you at the unconscious level, so deep within. And you've heard this before, that you have your conscious and your unconscious, which is always working outside of your awareness. Your brain, the unconscious part of your brain, it will go to work, and it will always just pay attention, and it will look for ways to accomplish your mission. So you'll begin to see opportunities that maybe you'd overlooked before. And, along with reading it out loud, that mission out loud, it's also a great time to visualize the mission and then also the small goals, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. And so be aware of this. If you spend too much time visualizing that goal or your mission is being accomplished, then your brain will begin to fool you and believe that you've already accomplished that goal. And as we'll learn here in a moment, it has a lot to do with the reward center of our brain and that dopamine. And so this is an obstacle that I personally have run into when I visualize my own goals, and then also with some of my coaching clients that they've experienced. And so one of the techniques that I like to use was created by Dr. Tad James, and he utilizes timeline therapy. And you use that to visualize your goal. And so what you do is you visualize that event in the future happening in your imagination. And when you step into that picture of that event, then you experience all the things that you see and hear and feel and taste and smell. And after a short time, you leave that picture in the future, wherever that future is for you, whether it's in front of you or wherever that might be. And as you pay attention in the moment, you begin to see all the events and the actions that need to take place in order for you to accomplish that goal. It's very, very powerful. And I never really truly understood exactly why Dr. James had us leave that picture in the future until recently when I saw this video.
So that was a pretty monumental finding for motivation scientists to understand that creating these dream boards, these vision boards, or to-do lists might actually backfire, because it in and of itself is the creation of a goal and the satisfaction of the goal. And then people understandably give themselves some time to just enjoy that positive experience.
I imagine that certain strategies might work for other people, but everything you're saying, again, is consistent with what we know about the physiology of dopamine circuits for motivation. I have a good friend who, perhaps incidentally, perhaps not, is a cardiologist at a major university, said that one of the major errors that people make with book writing and completion is they will tell people they're going to write a book, and people will say, oh, you definitely should write a book. Everyone's going to love your book. And they never end up writing it. And his theory is that they get so much dopamine reward from that immediate feedback with all the protection of never having the book criticized, that they never write the book.
What do you think about that? Drop a comment below. I'm really curious. So number 2 is to set these short-term goals that will help you to accomplish the mission. Oh, and here's that surprise I mentioned. To be even more effective in reaching your goals and your mission, you also want to list out some of the obstacles that are in your way. Check this out.
I guess it raises the question, what's the better strategy?
Yeah. So I'm not saying that people who enjoy a dream board creation should stop what they're doing. But the process of goal setting shouldn't stop with articulating what the goal is. At that same point that we're trying to figure out, what do we want to do? What is my vision for the future? In those planning sessions, we need to simultaneously think about a couple other things. One is, how are we going to get there? So take it out of the abstract and start thinking about the practical day-to-day. We need to break it down into more manageable goals. What can I accomplish in the next 2 weeks and the 2 weeks after? That's going to set me on the right trajectory. That's probably not surprising. To plan big picture, think big picture abstractly, but then also break it down more concretely. That's probably not surprising, but it's an important aspect of the goal setting process. Then again, Gabrielle Oettingen in my department has identified a third, often overlooked or underappreciated stage that has to happen at that goal in the goal setting process. And that's thinking about the obstacles that stand in your way of success. And that it will actually help improve motivation in the long run. How's that going to help me get through when things get hard? But it does. That you want to know, what am I working towards? How am I going to get there? And if I experience this obstacle, here's what I'm going to do about it.
What do you think about that? So you're going to want to step out of that dream world and set an action plan. So, how are you going to deal with each imagined obstacle when it comes your way? If your mission is strong enough, expect obstacles, because they're going to happen. Our brains can trick us into believing that it's already happened because of that dopamine release, which we learned about earlier, because that dopamine begins to give us that reward, and we begin to lose focus in some way. Our brains actually believe that we've already accomplished it. And maybe the brain doesn't really see the benefit of dealing with the pushback of reality. And so we need to be taking action every single day on the smaller goals and that help us accomplish your mission. And you ask yourself, what am I doing today that is helping me to achieve my mission? Am I ready to take on those obstacles that are standing in my way? Right. So what are some of the obstacles and action plans that you have? Drop those in the comments below. And finally, tip number 3, it's the victory log. So you're going to record your progress in a victory journal, or whatever you want to call it. No matter what your goals are, if you don't record these victories, then you're going to end up finding yourself feeling like you haven't hit your goals. So why is journaling so important? Well, here's a video from Jim Quick talking about why journaling is so important.
So you'll notice in history, some of the most incredible geniuses, men and women throughout history, kept journals. This is the principle I want to talk to you about in this lesson. So if you want to transform your thinking, you need to be able to transform your ability to write things down and make something physical. Because the act of taking the invisible, your imagination, your goals, your vision, and making it a reality, one of the best things you could do is to write it down and make a physical motion. So you actually created something from your thought, from your thinking, into reality. So I wrote down my bucket list of all the things I wanted to be, do, have, and share. And this became my drive. This became my why. And that's why we always talk about those 3 questions. Asking yourself, how can I use this? Why must I use this? When will I use this? Journals of Leonardo da Vinci, Marie Curie, Einstein, they're invaluable. They are priceless. And the question I've always wondered is it because they're geniuses that they're journaling all the time and they're making notes all the time? Or is it because they're journaling all the time that they become geniuses? I would argue for the latter.
Oh, that's good stuff. And you've probably have hit plenty of goals, and you probably don't even realize it because there's no record of it, and you forgot about it. So having the record allows you to have that joy of just being able to look back and to see those victories. And how do you carry you through in times where it feels like nothing is moving? I mean, even worse, as Christians, pastors, God isn't paying attention to you, and you feel stuck. You're never stuck. I mean, you're always moving forward. So I really hope that video helps you in thinking about how you're going to accomplish your mission and stay on track in 2024. And so if you've enjoyed this video or learned something valuable, please like, share, subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.